Hey, this is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Tuesday. It's March 15th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And we had this big sell-off during the overnight, then we just kind of went sideways. But notice we have a channel working down here. We had a break, and we actually moved to a new low. Um, actually made a couple legs down to a new low. We really kind of went sideways here, but we still got a new low and attempted to go lower and then failed. And from there, we just kind of rallied weakly the rest of the day. And notice how, even though you've got this two-tiered channel working up, notice how prices are above, below, above, below, above, below, above, below the EMA like that. Uh, that's generally when it's like that, you can still trade it both ways, even though the trend is up here. Um, in those cases, I would pay more attention to the current. The shorter term trend lines, I guess is what I'm trying to say, not the current ones, but the shorter term ones. And there's actually one that works up right through there, and then you get a break and a new high. But if you notice, most of these shorter term ones are working away, and if you just followed them, we were more sideways here than anything. And even here, as we're working higher, we're still sideways. It wasn't obvious or it wasn't for sure that we were going higher until we started getting these higher lows here, and then it felt pretty confident that you got a trend line here, and if you drag it up, it pretty much fits on the upper side as well. And you can see the midline in there. Price is working both sides of that midline, so uh, you really didn't have a strong clue about this until these couple of higher lows here. Really, once you touched here, because you could have had these two trend lines. Um, off these first couple, but really this is you really got to count this as your first couple of swings here and here, and then this confirmed it. So it was more obvious at that point that we were probably going higher. There weren't a lot of trades after that anyway, but uh, anyway, that was your clue. And there's actually an entry here. I didn't mark it. It probably it's real. It probably should at least be green, and it's real close to being blue, but I didn't mark it because you had these highs here, and like we were trying to go lower. There is a trap here, so I probably should go ahead and make that one green. And it could be real close to being blue, but I'm just going to make it green at this point. I don't think you want to risk it that late in the day. I think you want a sure thing. And once it tried to go lower again, then I was pretty confident in it. But anyway, you can see that move down from the overnight. And notice where we're at. We're still hovering above and below that 2000 level. We ended up closing above it today, but we're still fighting that 2000, that century level. So come back on out where you can see the bars a little better here. And we'll talk about the trades now. The first trade I saw was right after 7 o'clock, right around 7 o'clock hour. Um, Notice that you got a new low, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. This was not a very good signal bar, but it broke higher and turned and went out the other side, and we're coming right off the EMA. So I like that one for a short, just having your stop there. But if you wanted to wait on this bar, then you had another one with a little bit higher low. So when it broke below that one, you could have entered there as well. I don't think I would add on there. I was already in here. This is where I think you're better off to enter. Although this one really gives you the same point to enter. But by that time, it's starting to go a little sideways. But you can see the lower highs creating here and the closes getting lower and lower. So you still got enough um, information there to know, hey, we're probably going to make a new low here. And we do. And then it bounces. And then we just kind of get going sideways here. Again, there's another second entry short here, but look how we're right there at the EMA and kind of back and forth above both sides. This is more sideways. So I like this one as a little failed break lower. And you can see that support right across there. And so this is like a little failed break lower. And you get this little bitty tiny reversal bar that's almost closes on its high down here, knowing we're probably going to snap back to the EMA, and you get that little failed break lower. So I like that one. And now you got two legs down to a new low too. Here was your original break. Um, you just kind of look at that like one leg and this other one like a leg, and you can see we didn't quite get a measured move, um, but you got the support across there. So anyway, I like that one. And if you caught this one, you probably didn't get a runner unless you let this one break higher and use the limit order, which I wouldn't recommend that here because a lot of times these are catch the low of the day, and if you miss them, you miss a really good trade. I didn't like the second entry counting off the low here, um, because look how neutral that bar is, and it closes right in the middle, and it's like a retest of that area. So I think you were better off to wait and see if you got the reversal pattern, which comes here. Notice the new low, pull back first entry, pull back second entry, and you got two measured legs up there, and we shot right through the EMA. It pulls back, you get a nice bar. It's a kind of a larger bar, so you might have let it break higher and drop a limit order in there, but generally I just like to put a stop there and go with it. Quick, easy move, and then we turn and we come straight back down. We never even got a retest of the high on this one. So um, it's obvious now that we're in a range. You can see the highs pretty clearly here and the lows fairly clearly. And now we're working down. You get a break, a move to a new low, and you make a little bit lower low, and then look at that big reversal bar again, and you're getting to enter right here along the support area with room to get out before the EMA. So I like entering that one. Plus you got your break and your move to a new low, and that's a fairly bullish bar. Quick, easy move. But then you try to go lower again. I don't like this signal bar. I think you needed to wait on this one, and when you got a break above it, drop a limit order back down here where you would have entered, see if you could get filled, and you could have. You could have gotten filled at least um, one tick above this signal, above where your signal bar would have been, but you probably could have gotten filled a couple of ticks back into that one, and then it takes off. And if you caught this one right here, then you could have ridden this all the way up. Actually, you could have ridden it all day. I doubt you would have stayed with it, but you could have. And that's why I like these failed break lowers, because they generally give you a chance to catch some of these big moves. But anyway, now you got a double bottom, and then you got a little resistance across here, and it breaks higher, pulls back to the EMA. This is your reversal pattern. Look how it just pushes right through the EMA, pulls back, and then you get this big reversal bar right here. Again, it went lower and went right out the upper side. So you could treat this is basically a failed second entry long. I'm sorry, a failed second entry short, because notice the new low, first entry, pull back second entry. It's a breakout pullback long. There's several different reasons you could enter that one. But when it tries to go lower again, this is a double bottom, so you can count that as a new low. So it's definitely another failed entry lower, and then another big bullish bar. These are some fairly large bars. So, but again, if you tried to get way back, try to limit order way back here, you missed this, and that was a great move. And once it started higher there, I would be looking at least for a measured move like so. But we far outdid that. So, and I like adding on here. If you weren't out of this one, you probably would have been out of it depending on how you entered it. But if you weren't, I like adding on there. Looking for prices to come to at least here, but you can see we pushed on through there. And then we actually had a breakout here. There's a second entry long right there. But this, generally we're not back to the support area yet. You've got a trend line working down. Everything's closing below it there. It's not a very good second entry. It is the first break of this shorter term trend line right here. But at this point, I wasn't really looking at this as trending. I was looking at this more as going sideways, which really is the way you should have been looking at it. So I'm hesitant to enter these breakout pullbacks without it testing this support area a couple of times, or staying within that trend line and giving you a setup. And it just didn't do that. So you don't want to go long right there. If you did, you got stopped out. So, and then it pulls back. It's just more going sideways there than it is, and it tries to go higher again. And so now you got your failed you really get your failed second entry long here, but I don't like entering there either yet because you're so close to here. So when it tries to go higher again and turns down, uh, I liked it then. And this is a really nice bar. And what you'd probably want to do is let it break lower and drop you a limit order back here just to get a little bit more distance on this EMA. And it would have come back here and failed you and went straight down. So I like that one. I actually treated this more as the failed second entry long because this is more of a double top. So that's a first entry long, pullback second entry long. And that was another reason I didn't really like this one because this is more like a double top here. And on your chart, it may have looked more like one bar up there than it did a double top. So it just depends on what your chart looks like. And you actually got another attempt to go higher that probably trap some people here, and you really could have entered there as well. I'm going to go ahead and mark that one. At the time I didn't like adding. I don't like adding on there, but if you're not in here, I like entering here. And again, it broke higher and turned and went right out the other side. At this point, you're looking for prices to come all the way back down to here. So um, turns out to be a pretty good move. It doesn't go all the way back down. It finds a higher low. And it's tempting to go long right here, but the bar is too big. And then by the time you get a chance here, you're right back to the resistance area that's kind of been the middle ground between the support and the resistance. But we hadn't really found support that holds yet. So I don't think you want to be going long right there, even though it would have worked. Actually, it broke higher and turned down first, so you would have got stopped out, but then it goes back up, and I don't think you want to enter there. And again, this should probably be a little bit further across here just so you can better judge what's happening here. And then we break up again and we try to go higher. We still can't get past that point. We just kind of go sideways. Again, I don't like going short there, but I don't like going long there either. And then you finally get your reversal pattern here. You shoot on through the EMA. You actually pull back and turn down there, but you don't break higher until here. And then again it breaks above and then turns and goes right out the other side. And at this point I really thought we'd push on down here again, but again it finds support, and you had to be thinking about possibly a trend line up through here. You might have even had it a little steeper than that here originally, but you wouldn't have been able to find anything over here that probably fits properly. So you just had to continue to kind of play notice how we're above, below, above, below, above, below. We're just back and forth above and below this EMA. So this turns out to be an easy scalp, and then it just kind of goes sideways. So at that point, you want to draw your trend line across there. And there's probably even a midline in there, to be honest, that you could have used there as well. But those midlines are not as reliable as the trend and trend channel lines. So you got to be careful. It does break higher. This is just going sideways. Notice it's a little failed breakout, and it finds resistance there again and turns back down. But this time it bounces higher and it confirms that trend line off those two swings, off the low here and this swing. And look at that nice little reversal bar. I like that. And if you caught this one, you probably could have ridden this one a while. And then you come up here and you get two legs back to the EMA, the midline here. And even though it's got a little bit of a red bar there, it's still more of a bullish tint. Everything's closing above that midline, which you should have drawn this and drawn it and then drug it up, and you could have seen that it's fitting real nicely all the way up and down through there. So this turns out to be a pretty good trade. You could have kind of run her in. Of course, you look to exit up here near the highs. You probably would have exited in here with all this. I don't know if I would risk it trying to go higher here. But then you get that two-legged pullback we just talked about, and then you get a higher low here and another bounce right off, and look at that bullish reversal bar. So we're probably going to make a new high here. We're probably headed up here somewhere. That's exactly where it goes. And where does it turn down? Right off that upper line. You start working back, you get a break, move to a new low. There's two measured legs down here, so it would have been tempting to take this second entry long. It's a nice bullish bar, but it's right there at the 2 o'clock hour. So I didn't mark it. But if you want to be real aggressive, you can see the first leg, and then there's the second leg, and it actually went a tick or so further than a measured move, and then it reverses. If we'd have been down here off this trend line, I would have definitely circled that one. But the fact that it didn't quite get down there and it wasn't quite a measured move yet, that makes it suspect. So really, you're better off to wait here and see if you get a higher low, which you do here. That would have been the spot to enter. But now it's 2:10. It's after 2 o'clock. It's 10 minutes after. And I just don't recommend entering there, although it would have been a good trade. And actually, once you're going higher, I would have measured this move here and looked for a measured move. And you can see that's right where we were headed into the close, and we got real close. So that might have kept you in this trade all the way to the close. So pretty good trading day, a good many trades. Somebody again asked me if we should switch to a smaller tick chart that, things still look slow. But that's about an average ES 2000 tick chart from what, historically. It may feel a little slow now because it's not as volatile as it was, but the last couple of months have seen this market extremely volatile. And so now that it's kind of back to normal acting, it feels a little slow, although this is probably normal here. So if you want to move to a 1500 because you like the faster, then you could try that for a couple of days. Unless it gets real volatile again, then you're probably not going to want to because it's going to move too fast for you. But this again, in my opinion, this is a relatively normal market, and there's still plenty of trades here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 12 red or blue trades and 13 counting the aggressive one there. And you probably could have picked out a couple more aggressive ones here, maybe right here. There's probably a couple other, and you might have gone short here off these highs. There's a couple others that you could probably make the argument for that they're aggressive trades, maybe even one right here. But, I try to only mark the ones that in my mind are aggressive that I would consider taking as an aggressive trader. And I know there's probably some people that will want to be more aggressive than me, but at this, unless if you're that good at reading the price action, then you probably don't need to be. You're probably not looking at my trades anyway. You're probably not looking at this chart lesson. So I try to keep this more to the level without getting too far out there, because I don't want to give traders that are still learning crazy ideas that trades they're trying to take. So I don't want to get too aggressive with the trades, although I do like to show the ones that I think I would like to take. And I don't consider myself a very aggressive trader. I do take some trades that would be aggressive for somebody that's only been doing this a year or two, but I do not consider myself to be a real aggressive trader. I like the real simple, easy ones, to be honest with you. The ones that occur at the key entry points. Those are the ones I like and like to stick to, because that's where all your big moves transpire at. Again, if you look where your big moves happen, they're long here, which is your support of the range, the channel here, or no, I'm sorry, the range that we're in across here. And there's a few off the top. And again, that's a key entry point. And then look, going up, the biggest moves were off this trend line. And there's a couple of bigger moves off the trend channel line on the other side. And on this type of day, if you got a setup, you could trade it that way, because we're really going more sideways than even though this has a slight upward bias, it's still a neutral type market because we're swinging back and forth consistently above and below the EMA. It really, starting here, you might have said, hey, I'm not going short anymore because we're mostly working higher from here, but from here we're still consistently working back and forth across that EMA. And even here we're still doing it, but from just before noon till almost 2 o'clock, that's 2 hours that we didn't hardly get back below the EMA. It's starting to push it a little bit. So but yeah, it turned out to be a pretty decent trading day. And again, if it's not fast enough for you, you might consider going to a 1500, but my opinion, I'm sticking with the 2000 for now, and there's still plenty of trades. And when the smaller charts you go to, the more failures you have, and so and if you try to be a little bit aggressive on a smaller chart, you might end up with some losing trades. So just be wise about it. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up for the day. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. Um, I will probably take off Thursday and Friday this week. I still plan to do a chart lesson tomorrow. I still plan to come in and trade. If there's not one tomorrow, you'll know I probably left early or I didn't trade. But at this point, I'm planning on doing one and just taking off Thursday and Friday. So, but anyway, we'll wrap it up for today. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow, most likely. And for now, this is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.